Hey, this is Trader Travis, and for the last few years, I've been honored and it's been my joy teaching people how to trade the stock market in order to become cash flow investors. Because despite what the experts want you to believe, it is possible to make $500 to $1,000 a month, spending as little as 15 minutes a day, and that's whether the economy is good, bad, or flat. Now, I hate theory and I only teach and share based on reality, so if I get a chance in this video, I'll actually show you proof. Now, I know the obvious question is, how do you do that? Well, we do it by following a simple 5-step process because, what I found is that investing based on your gut, hunch or something that someone said on CNBC, that doesn't work. It's one of those things. I've been there, tried it, done that. And in order to be successful, you really need a step-by-step template because what a proven blueprint does is it gives you consistent, predictable, and profitable results. And those results are what my mentor calls a cash money machine. So what I'm going to do is in this video, I'm going to reveal those 5 steps that we follow and also publicly share how well I did or didn't do as an option trader last year. Now, before I begin, I really want to dedicate this training to, the person who gets up in the morning, says goodbye to their loved ones, and then goes to work. That person who, they work really, really hard, but they work in conditions that don't fulfill them as a person. And now this same person, they know they've got to build a college, fund. They've got to save for retirement. But something always comes up. It's like the more you work, the less you've got. And so I've been there. And I found out that if you do that for too long, then life stops being fun. And so when I get up in the morning, I fire up my computer to make more training videos or to write emails. That's the person I think about because that is the person I created my training for, because that person is exactly in the same situation I used to be in before I achieved financial independence. And so in this video, you're going to discover the tool that set me free from financial bondage. So I hope you enjoy. So to start off, I want to fulfill my big promise and show you the 5 things that you must know in order to trade options successfully. Now, no matter what type of trader or investor you are, your success is going to boil down to following these 5 simple steps. And that's how do you find good stocks? How do you enter trades? How do you exit trades? How do you take profits? And then how do you develop the confidence to do it again each and every month for the rest of your life? Now, that's like, duh, of course. That's a big picture overview. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually break down each of these steps for you. And then if I get time, I'm going to show you a real life example. But first, let me briefly share the story of how I learned all this. And it all started many years ago when I wanted to be a financial planner. And, I took the whole exam to Series 7. I think it was Series 66 into my life and health. And I started in this 6-month training program with a fairly well-known company. But, once I was in that training program, I really realized real quick that they were teaching me how to sell financial products. I really wasn't in the business of teaching people how to be financially literate or how to be retirement literate. And that bothered me because I became a financial planner because I wanted to teach people how to be cash flow literate. I felt kind of slimy being a salesperson. So it bothered me enough that I just stopped showing up and I eventually quit. And, I went to look for another way to pursue my passion of helping people. So, the end message there, the takeaway is that I made a decision to stop learning from salespeople and to learn from people who actually had money. And I suggest you do the same. So when you encounter someone selling a financial product, you need to ask yourself or find out if they're a salesperson or do they actually have money and are teaching from experience. So I went and searching. I actually found a group of multimillionaires and, through some questioning and stuff, they eventually agreed to teach me the secrets as to how they created their wealth. Now, for those who don't know me, I grew up poor, so poor that we lived in a house with no running water or a bathroom, and we had a 5-gallon paint bucket that we kept in the back room, and that's what we use as a toilet. So, coming from that environment and now learning from rich people was like a dream come true for me. And so what they did was they taught me this simple formula, and the way they explained it is that they said that most people chase money when instead they should be learning how to accumulate assets that create monthly income or cash flow. And so, I took what they taught me and I first got involved in real estate investing. And, I like that whole idea of creating wealth so I could be in control of my life. And, I was, pretty standard. I was looking to go in, create monthly cash flow. I was going to buy houses and rent them out. But sounds great in theory, but I quickly found out that, being successful in real estate, it's hard. And It's a lot harder than what most people will lead you to believe. And I actually failed miserably. I started out doing great, but then I eventually failed. And, I went bankrupt, literally. And so as I was failing, I said, I realized, hey, this money I'm currently earning right now, that's not going to cut it. And so I'm going to be broke in a few months. And so I went out looking for another solution. And right now I trade the stock market full time, but and my particular specialty is trading stock options. But the truth is, I never wanted to be an option trader. I just simply had a problem I wanted to solve. And I simply went in search of, other ways of generating monthly cash flow. And that's when I discovered the secret I'm sharing with you today. Now, I learned how to make $500 to $1,000 a month in as little as 15 minutes a day. I learned how to do that, and it has changed my life for the better. And so essentially what I did was I took what my mentors taught me, that formula, and then I adapted it to option trading. And I call it the option profit formula. And so this formula, the way we use it, it creates monthly cash flow. And that monthly cash flow is, again, what my mentor called a cash money machine. And this doesn't really just apply to me because, how would it change your life if you had a skill that brought in an extra $500 each month for the rest of your life? What would you do with that money and how would your life be different? It'd probably be a lot different because let me show you the investing method that 90% of the population is kind of stuck with because they don't really know what else to do. Everybody tells them, hey, you need to be in the stock market, but no one trains them how to really adequately invest. And as it stands now, 90% of the U.S. population, they're kind of stuck with 401ks, mutual funds, or somewhat of their equivalent. And I served on a board of trustees for the retirement plan for one of the largest employers here in town. And, I met people all the time who were doing everything right. They were saving for retirement. They were putting in money every single month. And then 10 years later, the balance was less than it was when they started. Their account wasn't growing. You see the money they put in, but it disappeared. It just simply wasn't there. And thanks that the stock market has performance that we can verify, let me show you why it wasn't there. And what I want to do is pull up something called the S&P 500. If you do not know, this is the benchmark for most professional money managers. They try to beat the performance of the S&P 500 each and every year. You can Google what S&P 500 means. It's just 500 of the top stocks in the U.S. stock market. All right. So they try to beat this. And, I've done the research. You can do the research. There's something called the Spiva report. It tells you that roughly 90% of all professional money managers fail to beat the performance of the S&P any given year. And so, said another way, 90% of them, get paid to lose your money, and only 10% succeed. And from what I've read, it's not the same 10% each year. So it's pretty much based on luck if they beat it. All right. So without beating up the S&P too bad, let me go ahead and show you how the S&P did last year as of 2013. So the S&P started the year January 2nd, 2013 at about $1,400. And then it ended the year roughly about $1,848. All right. So it had a $385 increase or a 26.39% return on investment, positive return on investment. So, you'll hear that on CNBC. You may see it in the papers. They say, hey, the stock market returned 26% for the year, and everybody's excited and they're telling you how much money you made. But this is investing, and investing has to be taken into context, looking at the big picture. So let's pull up a 20-year chart of the S&P 500. And let's look at the truth. So looking at the real truth here, let's go all the way back to the year 2000. Okay, so in March 24th, 2000, the S&P was trading at 1527. Okay, so it was trading at 1527, which is higher than where the market started in January 2nd, 2013. So it was actually trading higher back then. So if you look at it, you can say, well, the beginning of last year, the stock market started off lower than when it was in 2000. All right, so take that starting price, 1527, and then add it to the ending price of 12/31/2013, and you see that it took 13 years for the market to go up 21%. And you take 21%, you divide it by 13 years, that gives you about 1.62% a year that you earned on your money. And some people might get excited and say, well, at least I made money. But no, inflation runs 3 to 5%. So that's what they call a phantom loss. You really don't see inflation. You just feel it in your wallet when each year milk and eggs go up in price, your rent raises, and everything else goes up in price. So if whatever little money you did make, inflation ate it up. And then, you going back to what I said, I saw people who did everything right. They put money in their account every single month. 10 years later, they're wondering why their balance is less. That's why. It took 13 years just to earn 1.62% a year. And that's not even including all of the fees that your mutual fund company charges you. And so to set up a system where somebody puts in money each month for 13 years, and then at the end of those 13 years, their balance is less, you look at your statements, you can't find out where your money went to. That's a criminal system to me. It's one of the biggest ripoffs I've ever seen. And, ever since I served on that board of trustees, I haven't invested in a mutual fund since, because the stuff I learned, it just made me sick to my stomach. There are actually fees that they charge you that they aren't even required by law to disclose to you. So essentially, they can take your money and not even tell you about it. And that's why I said you can look at your statements and you won't be able to see the fees. They're just taking out and you don't see where it went to. Okay, so far, I'm sure I haven't told you anything you haven't already known, before. Most people know that traditional investing is not, going to cut it. That's not good enough. It's not going to help them achieve their goals. It may be some, but for the most people, no. And that's why they're in search of something else that will earn them accelerated investment returns, like options. That's why a lot of people are attracted to option trading. So what I want to do now is, again, going back here, the S&P took 13 years to go up 21%. So what I want to do is show you not a 13-year performance, but a 1-year performance of our portfolio as an options trader. And I ran 3 portfolios last year. And what I mean by running 3 portfolios is I teach people what I do, and then I reinforce it every single month, recording my trades in real time, saying, okay, this is how you apply what you're learning in real time. And so I ran 3 portfolios with 3 different balances and 3 different purposes, which I won't have time to go into this video. But what I want to do is show you the performances. So this one started with a 10 grand balance, started late in the year, about March of 2013, and it ended the year up 0.32%. Now, the next portfolio started with a $12,000 balance. It was up 55%, and I trade different strategies in each account. Long-term account has the most balance in it. It's $48,000 account, and it ended the year up 64%. So a 64% return on my money that year. And this is excluding commissions, because commissions is different at each broker. I pay roughly about $1 or something, per transaction. So what you could do is subtract on a conservative end a few points from this, and that will factor in commissions. Or, if you want to be aggressive, or you could subtract like 5% from this number. So, if you could earn, and I'll show you something in a sec. Well, I'll show you here in a second. But if you could earn like 64% on your money each year, how would your life be different? Like, how quickly would you achieve your goals? And I can actually show you, because this is one of the handouts we give the students in our training programs. It shows them different things. And the thing I want to show you is down here. It's called the rule of 72. And if you take 72 divided by your growth rate, it tells you how many years it's going to take to double your money. So this chart only goes up to 52%. And, I earn, what was that, 64%? So let's be conservative and say 52%. You take 52%, you earn 52% of your money each year. It's going to take you 1.4 years to double your account. So you're almost doubling your account every single year. Now, that's best case scenario. It doesn't always work out like that, because last year I only earned like 31%. On average, I earned 30 to 50%. Last year happened to be pretty good. But you can see how quickly you can achieve your goals earning that. And in full disclosure, I'm actually being, fairly conservative here, because, I don't want to seem like, some get rich quick person and showing you something. So what I want to do is pull up, here's live calls I have with students where, I answer all the questions they have about trading. And here at the bottom here, one of our students was coming in and he was giving us an update on his trading. He said, hey, he's just buying straight calls and puts, and he's up, 100% that year alone. And as of this, so this is what, 7/31. So the year wasn't even over yet, and he was already up 100%. Now, here's another lady. I'll explain what this is. I was surveying students because I care about their success. I do what I do to help people. I really want them to succeed. So at the end of each year, I survey everybody I teach, ask them, hey, have you made money? And so she was just saying, hey, I bought your course in May of 2012. Made my first trade in July 2012. I've been just selling covered calls and cash secured puts. And here's what I want. I will surpass 100 grand in profits within the next month or two. Not bad for a stress-free trading style. And she picked one of my favorite strategies. Is what I call it set and forget it. I'll show you here an example here in a second. So with this is, again, I survey students. Now I run a group coaching program. It was scary for me to ask them this. I said, look, have you made money? So roughly 64% of them said they made money for the year. You know, that's not great. I'm not bragging, but it's pretty good considering they say 90% of traders fail. Now, this is a group coaching program. And the challenge of a group coaching program is sometimes people fall through the cracks. It's easy for them to kind of, fade off into the darkness and not participate. But I was like, just imagine if I work one-on-one with these people. But this is a group coaching program. I'm going to try to get it up to about a 70 to 80% success rate because the industry says 90% of traders lose money, and that always bothered me. And I set out to prove that wrong. And I feel I've done a good job at doing that. And so generally, I usually only share my performance with coaching students. But, more and more, I'm getting more comfortable because I want other people to see, look, how you can become a cash flow investor, because I found a mentor who taught me how to create an income stream that provided me with cash on demand. And just like my mentor, now I get to show other people how to do that. So that young lady here who was saying she earned about 100 grand in profits this year, and she was trading this portion of the portfolio. It's what I call my set it and forget it strategy. It takes us roughly 10 minutes once a week or once a month, depending on how we choose to trade it. And so she did a lot better than me. I don't know how much she's investing here, but last year I made $68,000 on it, $6,800, on this strategy. So you divide it by 12 months, and I only earned $562 a month. But it only took me 10 minutes once a day or once a week. It's literally really stress free. And I have another portion of my portfolio that these strategies right here are more time intensive, but you can see they also earn more money. And so those don't take 10 minutes. Those are not 10-minute strategies. They might take 15, 20 minutes a night. It depends on how many trades you make. So these strategies earn about $23,000 for the year. So that's about $1,900 a month on average. But they do take a little bit more time intensity. Now, again, this was the long-term account. All right. So let's just come here to the short-term account, a balance that most people probably could reasonably save up, about 12 grand. I made essentially the same type of trades in this long-term account here. In the shorter-term account. Now, I didn't make as much money, but what I wanted you to do is don't focus on the amount of money. It's only $1,900 for the year. Focus on the percentages. I had roughly about $10,000 tied up in that one strategy. And so that one strategy for that year earned me 19% of my money. And again, this is a set it and forget it strategy. It takes about 10 minutes, all right, to trade. And the more aggressive portfolio made a little bit more money. You add those two together, and that's how we got to 52%. So, the end summary is when somebody can go in here, like these strategies down here at the bottom, we earned this money in 3 days, roughly about $7,000, give or take. So when you know how to go in and effectively trade the stock market, what you do is you can go in, use your skill set, and create your own cash machine. So, this is essentially what we're doing. We're taking a skill set, taking some strategies, going in and creating monthly cash flow. And so I'm not sure if this type of stuff, can even help you. But, mainly what it comes down to is, do you feel like you're growing your income or your retirement fund as quickly as you need it to grow? Because you can do this. This works for most people. I'm not going to say it doesn't work. It just takes a long time, or you can do something like this. And if you could earn these type of returns, how would your life be different? If, you had a relatively small account now, most retirement accounts, people are talking about $1 million accounts. Now, these aren't big accounts. And so if you could go in and make an additional $500 more a month, how would you use that money? Like, what would you do with that money? Because where I live, most people are like, oh, that's not a lot of money. But where I live, that, is like a house payment. And you can spend your time a little differently. It's like the difference between driving a BMW or Honda, or, on a more serious note, it could be the difference between a man or his wife, doesn't really have to go out and get that second job. They could really, stay at home and raise their kids instead of having someone else raise their kids. And so when people enroll in the training programs I teach, they realize that, I'm not teaching you how to trade options. That's like so blah, blah, blah. Iron condors, cash secured puts, credit spreads. That's like boring jargon. what we're really learning how to do is how to live life better, because the ability to make money is a skill that will define the rest of your life. And if you lack that skill, you know what, you're going to have a pretty uncertain future. So, if like these students right here I just showed you, if I could take you and show you how to earn a house payment, every month for the rest of your life, would that change your life? Now, it sounds cheesy, but that's what I've seen with these students over and over again. That's only a couple of examples. We've got hundreds of emails. I don't even have time to go through all the emails. What I do is I essentially train people how to secure their future in the 21st century, because the concept of retirement, it's changed dramatically. Pensions are becoming a thing of the past, and I've been around to see, how they're slowly going away. And, they created this thing called Social Security. Well, you know what? Relying on or believing that Social Security is going to take care of you, it's almost like believing in Santa Claus. Now, I love my country. I really just don't have faith in how the government manages its finances. And, going back to mutual funds, financial planners and mutual funds, in my opinion, they can't help you because there's really no accountability in that industry. And what I found is that when you put your money in a mutual fund, it's called parking and praying. I forgot who I learned that term from, but essentially you park your money in and you pray the fund manager is going to do a good job. You're not in control of your future. But what if you developed a skill set? Again, if you could earn a monthly income and at the same time get the safety and diversification of a mutual fund, what would that do for you? Because that's what you need to figure out, and then do everything in your power to make that your reality. And the truth is, I really don't know if option trading is the right thing for you. And that's why I'm not telling you, oh, go sign up and go buy this, because, all I really can do is just show you what I've done, show you what other students have done here, up 100%. So all I really can do is show you what worked for me as well as hundreds of my students. And so if you think that option trading can really solve your problems, then I want to help you or be one of the people that help you navigate that road successfully. But it really comes down to you. You've got to decide to get started now, because the longer you wait means the more money you miss out on, and the longer it's going to be before you're financially independent. And a lot of people get overwhelmed. They kind of think about, like, gosh, how far do I have to go? I have so much debt and all this other stuff. I have so much to learn. You know what? Don't focus on that. Just take baby steps. Never, never, never look at everything you have to accomplish, because all it does is discourage you. Just focus on the next step. And so what's that next step for you? And I just looked at the time here, and, I have to apologize because, I get so passionate about what I do and how I can help people is that I kind of get carried away sometimes. And this video is a little bit longer than what I expected. And, I really didn't have time to break down these 5 steps. I told you I would show you a real life example if I had time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop this video right now, and then I'm going to record part 2 of this training where I can actually walk you through a real life example of how this 5-step process creates monthly cash flow. So let me go ahead and do that, and I'll see you in part 2. All right, you take care, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.